fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God!
Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Welcome everyone back to SimSpeed TV here on a Saturday evening for the next round of the Major Series here in 2022. It's the 11th round out of 14 for this year's action, and after the modified mayhem that we saw in August over on the dirt, we get back to some road racing action with the Silverado 250 Canadian Tire Motorsport Park this evening here for the international region of the Major Series. Be precise. My name is Danny Amon, Jay Kennedy alongside me, doubling up on commentary and production for this one tonight. And well, yeah, certainly a bit of a crazy one last time out with these guys in the modified mayhem, Jay. But getting back to road racing action, we saw some great stuff when we last saw this field on road, which was the Austrian Grand Prix back in July. So very different combination, of course, tonight, but certainly will hopefully be a good one to watch, across the course of the action this evening.
Yeah, 100%. We'll talk strategy in a little bit, but yeah, this should be a fantastic round of racing. Always thoroughly entertaining when we see NASCAR Cup or truck vehicles on road courses. Always is a really interesting dynamic. Very, very different style of racing. A lot of argy-bargy, a lot of hip and shouldering, lots of sliding, lots of tyre wear, lots of preservation of your car. It's going to be very, very fun around this very, very cool track at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Mosport.
Indeed, it is one of the circuits that has, well, not changed since not changed much, if at all, since it originally opened. See here, it's very much a track of the time, just under 4 kilometers in length and 10 turns to its name as you navigate this circuit and flow up and down. The elevation change here in Bowmanville, Ontario as well will add to part of the mix. But yes, certainly will be a great test of these cars, and 64 laps of action, just over 250 kilometers of racing, hence the round name for this weekend here. The Silverado 250 equals out to just over 156 miles of racing if you're into some old-fashioned imperial units by the way. Looking at the championship standings now, having gotten through first 10 rounds of racing, and Robert Northway currently sitting out on top once again, but not by much ahead of Sam Harper. Just under 100 points is still fairly close, all things considered, given the length of the season so far, Jay. And Thomas Hinz not too far back there in P3. He's got a bit of a buffer margin back to Shane Bowen in P4, and then Dan Stevens looking somewhat comfy in P5 there as well. All considered not too far off, still being able to make a challenge for probably a podium spot if he has a couple of good rounds here to wrap up the season.
Yeah, exactly right. And championship well and truly open. And just clarifying as well, we said that we would have some news about what the result from the last round would be as well. The finishing order was taken from when we first saw that there was the weird glitch with the timing and was shuffling drivers around. So at that point, the race was declared null and void, finished complete, which was probably the fairest way. So Cameron Nance officially the winner, and Robert Northway position number 2. So that's where Northway got that little bit of a gain in points. He was only 45 points ahead. It's now up to nearly 100, as you said. You're very, very close the whole way through. The top 5, anyone in that top 5 could still win, but look at the points over on this side of the page, over at the Sportsman. It is extremely tight between Dave Trevethan, Josh Robertson, Julian Mookie not far away as well. Top 4 separated by just 43 points. It's incredibly tight.
That is some impressive stuff there from the boys in the Sportsman division. Don't count out, I'd say, James Catchpole as well there, Jay. Probably only another 52 points back out of Chas and Teets in P4 there. So you make it top 5, less than 100 points separating all of them. That is going to be a good one to finish. And on top of that, you can see obviously down the order in the back half of the top 10, still the gaps are nice and close. And the fact that we're looking at there from P1 in Sportsman down to P10, we're talking not even 340 points covering them all. That certainly opens the door to any of these drivers, I'm sure, to make a run at it here in the final couple of rounds.
100% correct. It's well and truly open in the Sportsman. We'll have a bit of a look a bit tighter on those guys throughout this race, because we some weeks can't give them the focus that we intend, but should be a much more spread out field when we get racing in a few moments time here in this one. In one of my favorite tracks, weird bit of trivia, this is the track I got my first ever road racing win in iRacing 11 years ago this week. How's that?
Oh, that's quite timely, I'd have to say. But yeah, certainly a fan favourite, to be sure. Yes, it's short and fast, but yeah, requires great skill. And well, in these cars here tonight, these NASCAR Gander Outdoors trucks, the Silverado, Ford F-150 and Toyota Tundras that we'll see here, certainly a bit of a lumbering combination, bit of a handful as the laps go on. Speaking now, I think about the strategy, I think is probably a good idea. Yep. These cars certainly not known for tyre preservation, and well, tyre preservation you shall need to somehow find and provide over the course of the racing action this evening if you want to maximise your performance over the course of a stint. Well,
maybe you don't need to. That's the other part to it too. So we know the race distance, we know it's 64 laps. We know that a tank of fuel at 100% throttle, so full beans, you'll get 30 laps. Now, 30 doubled means that that's not enough to make it on one pit stop. So you've got 2 options: push as hard as you want and pit twice, and then you can burn through 2 sets of tyres, or pit once, preserve the tyres, which only last at maximum, at decent grip, about 23, maybe 24 laps. Whether you can hold on for 7-8 laps and fuel save at the same time to turn it into a one-stop race, it's going to be the strategy. There are drivers who are still questioning which is the right move to do at this point now, with a minute until we get gridded up. So that shows how tight it is as to which is the preferred strategy. I've heard neither of them being said that they're 100% the preferred strategy. It's really going to come down to what other drivers do around you. If you've got damage to your car and need to use your spare, that will obviously dictate a lot. But how you're feeling the track has evolved and the tyres are behaving later on in your stint. If you get to, say, 24 laps and your fuel's okay, but you've got no tyres, then you really are going to be struggling to make those last 7 laps to get you to that halfway point.
Oh yeah, you bet you will be. I think that's going to be an important one to note there. Drivers who are fuel saving, well, they'll probably to somehow may not need to fuel save as much in the opening phases of their stints, and then just fuel save when the tyres fall off at the end there, as you say. But that might be a little too conservative in that final sort of third of the stint, since they'll need to stretch that out to about 32 laps. Well, there will be 32 laps to evenly split the race, of course, down the middle here. And well, if those final 8 laps are going to be a real handful, that will certainly make for an interesting race. And given it's a very short pit lane here at Canadian Tire, and the speeds down the front straightaway aren't super duper high. It's probably one of the tracks where that two-stop strategy is most likely going to be effective. Practice time is at an end. It means that in a couple of seconds, we'll head to the grid and walk you through how we're going to line up for the Silverado 250 here in the International Division of the Major Series. Here we are, all on the grid now. Let's walk you through it here for this one. Of course, all the pro drivers lining up first on the field, and Dan Stevens is the man to get the pole when pre-qualifying for this evening's race. He gets that inside position on the front row. Thomas Hinz joining him on out of P2 tonight, and well, they're looking pretty good on pace. But watch out for Robert Northway, one of the fastest drivers, in fact, the fastest driver in practice. Will be starting out of P3 in the number 46 KSR machine tonight. He's got Dwayne Burns alongside him in P4. Hayden Kirk, another KSR machine, will be lining up in behind Northway inside of row 3. He's got Shane Bowen to his outside there. I think that's actually going to make it 2, if not 3 Kinect Avatar cars all lining up on the left side of the track into turn number 1. Gavin Barber, the next of our middle finger racing entries there in the 25 machine, lining up on the inside of row 4. Dean Mole is the third of those Kinect Avatar cars I was just speaking about on the outside of row 4. I should say Sam Harper out of P9 has got Joshua Thomas on his outside for P10. And Jonathan Bean and Craig Tilson to round out the first 6 rows. Alexander Sheridan just over the page, the 13th and final Pro Class driver to start this race off here tonight, Jay.
Yep, and from there we go back to Jamie Kingscott, who will start from pole in the Sportsman division. Jake Fox and Stuart Elder routing out the top 3. Nick McMillan and Matt Chalker, the top 5, the next row of our field. From there we go back to Julian Mookie and Phil Otto. Chaston Teets and Dave Trevethan. A little bit further back for Dave than he would like. He's going to have to work his way forward to get ahead of his championship rivals in this one. Ryan Mulder and Simon Francis rounding out our 24 car field. We are missing a couple that were due to start but have not arrived to take our green flag, which is a little disappointing, but it does go that way sometimes. As we said, it'll be 64 laps on the clock, and it's going to be a tough ask to make it all the way through on one stop. I feel if anyone can do it, that will be the winning strategy, but it's an easier said than done strategy to pull off.
Yeah, it's all going to be about that tyre fall off and how much that fall off occurs. I think, to be honest, not really knowing what to expect from these cars here at Mosport means that, unfortunately, flying a bit blind until we see how this first stint plays out. I'd say, Jay, as we see here, some of our sportsman cars.
They're actually giving a bit of a gap back. They did have a bit of a gentleman's agreement before the race started that they would run it like a multi-class race where they'd split the groups up in 2 so that we wouldn't see the guys at the back of the pro class who may not be as fast as our sportsman guys get involved at the start, and will hopefully give us a bit of a cleaner start.
Good to note there indeed. Well, before we go green, Jay, one final thing to bring up, of course, the Major Series supporting charities around the world with each and every round in this season's events. And for tonight's action, we're proudly supporting Whatability down here in Australia. Whatability, an NDIS registered disability support service for professional and semi-professional athletes to work as support workers for the participants of their programs. So a chance for athletes across the country to help out there. And, well, that's going to do it for the pre-race warm-up, because we come around the final turn with the front of the field. Green flag flies, and Dan Stevens takes a nice early lead here into turn number 1.
Yeah, very good launch, and everyone's going to get through turn 1 A-OK, which is great to see. Try and get into single file before we start this downhill descent, but it looks like everyone has done so very, very well. The guys in Sportsman may need to get a hurry up, because they're going to get caught very, very quickly yet to start their race. But Hinz didn't get a great launch, but I think he was quite content and okay to tuck in behind the car of Dan Stevens there, knowing that Stevens would be pushing on pretty hard pretty early to maintain his lead from his first ever pole position in this series.
Yep, that's indeed. There we go. Around the final turn for your Sportsman cars, and Kingscott away nice and confidently off the front row of the Sportsman grid. He's followed into turn 1 by Jake Fox. Side by side there between Stuart Elder and Julian Mookie. That's going to allow, pardon me, it was Matt Chalker trying to hang around the outside there in the number 76 machine. He gets on through. Meanwhile, further on back, You hear Dave Trevethan sliding onto the back of the sportsman field here early on. There's someone down off at turn 2. One of our Stuart Elder on the 115 machine. The NRG entries, unfortunately, has gone too deep through Clayton Corner. The first car to find the fence down there, and already certainly a bit roughed up as your leading Pro Class drivers now flowing through the S's and Whites corner. They'll be onto the back of Elder here in about half a lap's time, if that, as they come around to complete the end of lap number 1.
Yeah, 1 lap done, and other than Stuart Elder dropping off and Dave Trevethan losing ground at the start, relatively clean. It was great to see. Dan Stevens very excitedly told me earlier this was his first pole position and he was wanting to stay at the front of the field for the entirety of this race. Well, he's had a great launch away. Those front 3 already starting to break a little bit of a gap back to Dane Burns in 4th. Burns not looking quite as strong at this early stage. These tyres can come up to temp pretty quick depending on your pressures, but of course if you start your tyre pressures too high, great, they'll come up to temp early, but they will wear relatively quickly as well.
Will indeed, as we just see here, the Pro field making their way down the hill into the double apex hairpin. That is Moss Corner. And a very treacherous set of turns here. Big curbs on the inside of the apexes there. You do not want to get your car all over, especially since you want to get the power on nice and early in that second apex. Because then you've got, of course, here the Mario Andretti straight away, although officially it also has 2 corners along it. So a bit of a each way, I guess, have it either way, say the Americans. But then into this S's section here, long double right almost into left-hander here to set up for the final turn. White's corner, another right-hander. Again, avoiding that apex curve in these cars here. Can't really afford to clobber it in these machines, given you want to get on the power nice and smoothly, and then descending, dropping down the hill as you start the lap again through turn 1. And that's going to make interesting case as the race goes on, I think, Jay, watching these cars struggle for front-end grip, struggle for rear-end grip, especially with so many of these corners like this, turns 1 and 2, where they just descend, meaning at the front end is going to wash even more than it already will in these kinds of cars.
100%. Got to be careful of making sure you've got the loaded side of the trucks correct as you go to turn into these corners, because the descent, the ascent does cause the load to shift from what you would expect. So if it was perfectly flat, your lines would be actually very, very different to what you approach this track, just because you want to make sure that you've got the truck in the right position as you get yourself into the corners. Make sure that the weight is shifted to the right side, or the truck is balanced correctly. Very, very good run from Thomas Hinds and Dan Stevens down the Mario Andretti straightaway. And of course, this track is in Canada. You did call them Americans before, so we'll ignore that though. I'll let you off. They do have the strange numbering system, the corners. It still makes us all scratch our head. But Hinds doing a very, very good job of applying pressure, but the top 5 have broken a fairly big gap now. You look behind Hayden Kirk, starting to get a bit of a gap back to Shane Bowen, who then has Gavin Barber a little bit further back. Look at the gaggle of cars they're building behind Barber. It's starting to get quite aggressive in this group here.
It is. They're all single file for now, and nothing too crazy about it for the time being, but you're not wrong as they make their way over the crest here. Turn 2 on board with Joshua Thomas, currently looking at the rear of Sam Harper's machine as they come through.
Oh, big slide.
Clayton Corner there, and these guys already starting to work these cars over a fair bit here. On board now with Harper, looking out the rear of his machine. Back at Thomas, and oh, look at that slide there. Just a little bit, but it's enough just to get the rears excited, of course. And then Thomas, oh my word, down through turn 4. Getting the rear end properly sideways here, and this is the 4th lap of 64. I think Thomas might be showing his hand here in terms of what his intended play is tonight, if that's anything to go by at this stage.
You don't want to be wearing the tyres this quick. It's not the preferred method. It's going to get 2 quick replays here, so we'll watch Thomas down the hill. Said he was very, very aggressive in his behaviour down the hill, and almost looped it around. And also had a sitting here with Phil Otto. He's let Ryan Mulder through. I believe it was just a good pass, which we will see a lot at this track into turn 8, 9, 10. The end of the track, you'll see drivers using this crisscross, using the slipstream, and there you go, up the inside goes Ryan Mulder. Through he goes, and we'll see a lot of that overtaking throughout this race.
Yeah. I think Avatar cars there can do a bit of a arranged exchange, as it were, as they make their way down the hill. And then, yeah, a bit of back and forth between the sportsman guys on the radio as well about drivers exchanging positions for the time being as well. Indeed, we see there Otto dropping in behind Simon Francis in the number 9 machine. So
other part could be Otto's on extreme fuel saving, trying to stretch out this first stint as much as he can.
That really would be the play, I think, at this point. You wouldn't be voluntarily giving up that much time in places, I would have thought, at this stage. And so the game seems for Otto is he's committing early to saving his tyres as much as he can, which means no fighting under brakes at the end of the Mario Andretti straightaway. And yeah, you're right in saying this is Canada. I should have probably considered that before making my statement earlier about Americans and their silly cornering numbering schemes. But hey, if the Canadians are going to follow suit, then well, lump them on in. And,
we can blame it because they race NASCAR trucks at this track, so we can say that it's because of that. But it's not because of that. We do know the reason why. It's because it's actually the numbering system is based off the flag marshal stand. So because they've got the elevation down the back straight, they need an extra flag marshal stand at the same point.
Two. Because there's two little kinks on the straightaway, and they both need.
Yes,
they both got their.
The elevation there. and the kinks, combination of the two, combo pack.
It's good enough to it works, but we'll worry about that later because we're watching here. Oh dear, actually, speaking of which, looks like small issue down at the Moss corner for Dave Trevethan.
Actually, it's been more than just Moss. He's had a couple of moments on this lap.
Okay, interesting. I see the one on this lap. Let's have a look here at the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School. So nice and tidy through Clayton corner. Nothing untoward there. But then up here into turn 3, this is Quebec corner. And yep, in too deep. The grass moment number 1 for Trevethan. Gathers it back up. Thankfully, that won't have hurt his car too much. But he's now well isolated from the rest of the world in his little spot. And then down the hill he comes, nice and easy through turn 4 it seems. And then into hot though at Moss corner, and he's just hang on there. So it turns out maybe caught a bit of grass there on the exit, but that looked okay. More the issue for him was at Quebec. Yeah, so 2 drivers are having excursions, although Stuart Elder probably the more major of said excursions in this race so far with that turn 1 drama for him down at Clayton corner. And well, have a look at that there. Trevethan and Elder just out of shot, having gone through turn 3. Here come the Pro Class leaders, now nearly a lap ahead of them, keeping their pace up in the 1:21s. Are these guys, whereas Trevethan, well, with that little excursion, Jay, 1:28.7, his last lap around the circuit.
Yeah, a little bit off the pace anyway, but definitely hurting him now as Hinz has got a little bit closer. He's got Northway with him. They've broken a huge margin back to Dane Burns. But have a look behind Dane Burns. He's pulled so much to Hayden Kirk. Kirk is 3.5 seconds back from our top 4. He's lost a whole heap of ground. And then Shane Bowen, we said before that he was bringing a train with him. So interesting how much this pack has separated. The last 2 cars in our class, they're going to go side by side down the Mario Andretti straightaway.
They are indeed. Alexander Sheridan there on the right side of your screen now with Craig Tilson on the left as now the other way around because we've switched the angle of camera, but Tilson's not giving it up into the S's. That's very deep from the 022 machine through the first part of the corner, but he's just kept it on the road there.
Wow, he just pulled it up.
Into turn number 9. He's going to be a little vulnerable perhaps, but Sheridan opts not to fight him too hard here. Rather preserve the car. So Tilson stays ahead for now as they cross the line to start their 8th lap of the race. Meanwhile, here come your sportsman leaders. So Jamie King-Scott there, currently leading that group, and you can see indeed they're a long way back off the Pro Class guys, having given them so much of a margin to start this one off. And Jake Fox, in P2 for class, Julian Mookie P3, Matt Chalker P4, then it's McMillan, Mulder, Francis, Teets, Otto, Trevethan, and Elder to round out the 11 sportsman cars out there on the circuit so far. Checking back in with your top 3 outright, and indeed nice and close as Thomas Hinz this time by down the Mario Andretti straightaway, but we'll see here if there's any change from the status quo, which was the serve and ride it out in behind Dan Stevens this time. Coming to the end of the straight, showing a nose is Hinzy, but he's not far enough up, and he will roll on through single file Northway, closing in the meantime behind the pair of them.
I'm impressed that there hasn't been any aggression sown in there. Oh, Stevens, huge slide. This could cost him the lead of the race. I was about to say that glad there's been no aggression shown between the 3, but That might be the first bit of aggression we've seen, but it's not necessarily with the other cars, with his rear tyres. Daniel Stephens is pushing them, and may this be the sign that we now know his strategy in this race? Burning the tyres up because he's got nothing. Oh, that's too wide. He's going to lose the lead here.
Oh, he might just, but he's going to have the inside for Quebec corner now with that run around the outside of turn 2. Actually, he's going to force Hinsey wide. He gets checked by Stephens, and look who goes to the lead. Robert Northway puts the 46 machine. There's Stephens trying for 3 wide. He puts it in the grass all the way down to turn 4. Hinsey almost alongside Northway as well on the way to turn 4. They roll back out single file. So there we go, the 46 having bided this time, jumps from 3rd to 1st. Stephens back down to P3. Dwayne Burns joins the group to make it 4 at the front of the field.
Watch this on board with Robert Northway. He probably wasn't thinking he was going to steal the lead, but he thought maybe I can steal one spot following someone through. But you see, unstable in the rear. Hins had already picked his line, slight little bit in there with the nose, and through goes Robert Northway to steal the lead away. I'll tell you what, Daniel Stephens didn't want to give it up at all, did he? Go into the dirt. Bit of aggression shown now. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything about the no aggression shown. It's all come out now.
It certainly has. Yeah, it's enough to get me a little bit shocked at what I was seeing there, given what we were talking about with a proposed strategy and how you drove. Oh, first bit of traffic. Trevethan extremely slow through turn number 1 there. Now, interesting, no issues for Trevethan, it seems, in the past little while. He was just incredibly slow there through turn 1. So, officially going down a lap on your leaders, passed by Stuart Elder into turn 1.
Oh,
no, there you go. Contact between the two of them. Put Trevethan nose front right corner into the fence there. And, well, your Pro Class leaders were immediately on him due to the way they'd been closing down. So all 4 get through there on the approach to turn 2. Trevethan now definitely slow, continuing to circulate well off the pace compared to these guys. You can see now, back to live pitches. And Stuart Elder will be up next for your leaders here as they head down the Mario Andretti straight away once more. Does Hinsey continue to happily ride P2? I would think so. That's what he's been doing so far. I don't think he's looking to upset things at this point in the race. On board here with the 53 machine.
So Hins has had 2 different trucks in front of him in this race, but hasn't led a lap. Sat in second for the entirety, as you just see to the side there. That's the very, very tight pit entry, which may catch some drivers out in this race. And so we see Stuart Elder come in to do his first pit stop, so we know his strategy for now. He'll be doing a 2-stop because you cannot make it home from here. Even the best fuel savers in the game have got no hope of doing 50 laps on a tank or 50 laps on a set of tyres. So Stephens, I'm guessing his tyres are a little bit hyperheated and is just having to back it down a little bit to maintain pace, but he'll be content sitting there in 3rd for now. Sam Harper's broken away from JM Thomas too. Remember, we saw Thomas with that big slide earlier. He's now broken away. He's behind Gavin Barber. That battle between Tilson and Sheridan is ongoing as well. In our sportsmen, our first battle is for 3rd in class. Julian Mookie and Matt Chalker going at it. And they've been pretty much evenly matched in regards to lap times and everything when you look at all the different analytics you can. So it's going to be a good little watch here as off the track again goes Trevethan. As he lets traffic go as Northway may lose the lead here to Hins.
There we go. A bit of aggression from Hinsey in that 53 machine at the end of the straightaway, but not alongside enough to command a line there into the S's here at the end of the lap as we're going to jump to a replay here real quick to have a look at what's happened further on back here. Looks like this is Jonathan Bean, the 019, the 31 of Dean Mole, and a little bit of contact at the second part of the Moss corner. Going to allow Pilson and Sheridan through, sends Bean to the rear of the Pro Class field. On board now with the 019, unfortunately. Now the man on the inside there, we just see a glimpse of him there, and then a little tap to the right rear corner, upsetting that machine there, already well and truly loaded up for that corner, and has to get back in the rhythm. So the middle finger cars, list 2 out of the 3 so far, looking a little roughed up and rattled at this point in the race, it would seem.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know what the word to describe it is. They're not content at the moment, are they? Interesting too. You see the damage on the side of Robert Northway's truck. You'll see it here. Watch where his number is on the door. Big imprint from a tyre. Now that's come from the contact we saw at the end part of that overtake for the lead. But interesting, the entire practice session, Northway seemed to have that exact same indent in his truck the whole way through. So he's very, very happy, content, okay with a little bit of elbows out racing in this race today. And of course, he would be one of the favourites. Definitely races a lot of oval racing, so he's very, very used to this car, but also very, very quick in these sort of races too.
It has been one of the front runners in our road racing for the most part. Meanwhile, further on back, Netco contact sends Gavin Barber around at the final turn. Oh, that's going to cause problems because Sam Harper's just parked it up on track to redress the position. Through goes Thomas. Then you've got the field coming on through here as Barber's trying to get his truck going once again there. Oh, that was unfortunate for Barber because Harper had a look into the final corner. We'll pick it up here on the replay, thanks to Virtual Racing School, and have a look at the netcode for this one. Nothing that Sam Harper was doing that was overly aggressive. You can see already well alongside him, bang, except air gap.
I mean, if there wasn't any netcode, there probably still would have been contact, but it probably wouldn't have been as severe. So, well, yes, disappointing that that does happen sometimes. Quite often in those situations, there'd be contact going to happen at some point anyway. So, it was a little bit heated into the corner. It may not have been such a bad result. Hins trying to get this this move done for the lead. It's going to be tough around the outside, but I tell you what, how did he go there? That shocked me.
Oh, wow, how about that? In fact, it was, to be honest, I was actually got a little bit distracted by something else that happened. That's what I got distracted by. Unfortunately, J.M. Thomas has put the 386 machine around in the dirt at Moss Corner. So starting to pick up a couple of victims now is the iconic champion that has turned 5 here at Mosport. Quick look at the replay. Okay, so a little squirmy on the way down into the first part of the corner, and that gets him sliding and well in the dirt, trying to keep the car speed up, and then fully losing the rear and having to park it up and let the whole field go on through. So unfortunately for the 386, he goes to the back of the pro field, and then that pass for the lead that unfortunately, we caught it here live on pitches, and I was a complete goose and got distracted. There we go, Northway not really looking to fight that one too hard. It seems he'd rather preserve what's left of his front tyres and not overcommit the brakes. But Hinsey to the lead. Now can start leading a lap or two here in this phase of the race.
Exactly right, you can. Going to try and lead as much of this race as he can. He'll be trying to pull away. Hins was one of the ones that did give me a little bit of an idea of a preference of strategy. Not confirmed, but the way I interpreted what he said is that he's doing a two-stop race because he is not liking how the tyres behave at the end of a stint. So he's not worried about saving fuel. He's pushing and trying to get as much of a gap as he can now. And the others around him, well, they may have to change strategy just based on Hins if he has some good pace later in this stint.
We'll have to wait and see how things go.
These guys are still going at it.
Indeed they are. Fighting now over 10th in class and outright as Tilson hangs on around the outside in turn number 8. Sheridan there, not opting to pressure him too hard, but he does show a nose there into turn 9. Interesting straight line entry from the number 5 truck there, but settles down for a conventional run through turn 10. In fact, actually it's a nice run through turn number 10 there. Looking to the inside of Tilson here for turn 1, but Tilson's going to go in deep and Sheridan not quite willing to commit, it seems. He will roll out there and settle in to stay P10 for now as these guys make their way down the hill once again here. Start at lap 15 of 64. Checking back in with the front runners in Sportsman.
This is getting tight.
Yeah, it is. Jake Fox there in front of screen. The 08 machine is currently second in class on the road. And Julian Mookie is really, as I said, closed up to the back of him, and he's dragging Matt Chalker along with him as well, of course. But almost looking like
Kingston,
this stage, it might just be...
Kingston lost a lot of time on that last lap too.
He did, yeah. 124.6 for your Sportsman class leader on the previous lap versus low 123s for those guys behind him. So nearly a second and a half lost. So a bit of traffic there potentially as things have been going on. Meanwhile, back at it again. 4P number 9 between these two drivers.
This is good to watch. I love watching these sort of battles where they go at it each and every lap. You see how some drivers will try and set it up differently to others as we hit 1/4 race distance at the end of this lap. So we'll start to see some strategy plays come out very, very soon as we're 20 minutes in. So Going to be around the 90-minute mark for the race, as we expect, and in regards to pit stop times, 4 tyre stop and 2 cans of gasoline. Takes around about 15 seconds in these trucks. So that's what we're looking at for pit stops, 15 seconds, give or take. Maybe up to 17, maybe down to 13. The other part to that is if you take 2 tyres, it drops it back to about 9 seconds. I cannot see anyone. Oh, that's a big hit. I can't see anyone doing that 2 tyre stop unless someone comes in for a splash and dash at the end. That was a fair bit of contact there, and you can see the damage that Alexander Sheridan has got on his truck. That was quite heavy damage.
Both trucks picking up substantial damage to the respective corners because the right rear corner there of the 022 has been similarly caved in. We'll check that one out there on the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School, and maybe you can see Tilson trying to get it to hook in. Doesn't quite get the line he wants, so I think backed off the speed a bit more to try and get it into the apex, and Sheridan trying to maximize momentum, and a secondary little bit of contact there between the right front, of Tilson and the left side. Sheridan, yeah, indeed a solid punt between those two. See how much that affects them, if at all, as they're currently circulating now with those places reversed behind them at the moment. Things looking a little bit dicey for a couple of these guys. Gavin Barber's really sort of fallen off the cliff, it seems.
Slowdown?
That seems plausible. Unfortunately, I can't confirm that. It was either cleared well before, or either cleared at the end of that one there. But it seems to me Barber, if you remember, was at the front of the group of cars up ahead, but has since dropped well behind. But yeah,
that's him slowing down for a slowdown that he must have got back at Moss.
Yeah,
I only think it could be, really, couldn't it?
You'd think so. Let's have a look at it here. So this
Run
is
wide
Barber.
here. No?
All happy. So maybe even further on back, and he potentially got right to the point where he needed to clear it, or else the black flag from iRacing was going to come on swinging. But it does really feel like the middle finger machines are starting to really struggle with tyre life here, and we're on lap 17 for these guys, so they're going to probably desperately be hoping for a 2-stop plan at this stage, I would wager. But can't say that for certain just yet.
Track temp isn't extremely hot. I mean, race started at 1 p.m. in sim time. Track temp at the moment, 38 degrees Celsius, so it's not overly hot. But yeah, there's certain drivers that setup just hasn't seemed to work as well as expected, and Stevens was one of the drivers that was feeling confident and looking maybe I'll only be able to do 1 stop. Well, I think that strategy's out the window. 2 stops look likely for a lot more drivers than we may have originally thought.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I'm not seeing a lot of signs of preservation at the front of the field. Thomas Hines is out to a nearly 3-second gap is now a 3-second gap for the race lead. Maybe that is Northway showing his hand there with a bit of intention to conserve, because Hinsey's just done a 21.5 last time around. So
he's definitely only doing the 2-stop, isn't he?
His truck's got pace, and I think he's not afraid to keep putting it down here and keep pushing this truck. Because if you said the tyres have a reasonable amount of grip for 24 laps, then, well, yeah, make hay while the sun shines, I guess. But yeah, maybe Northway just hanging in there for a bit longer, trying to see if the 1-stop potential is there. But surely, if some of the trucks that we're seeing now really starting to fall off that cliff, is a sign of what's to come as this race goes on. On board with number 39 and Mookie once again, looking at the back of Jake Fox. 3/4 of a second the gap as they come down the hill here into Moss for their 18th time in the race. It's a little wide of the first apex for Mookie, but he'll just get on pulled out. In fact, Jake Fox a little wide of the second apex in that complex of turns. So I'd say that was advantage Mookie throughout the entire thing. Indeed, gap down under half a second between these two now.
Yeah, and dropping rather quickly. So also seeing a few other drivers that have had, issues on this lap as well. J.M. Thomas has had an issue on this lap. He just did a 1:26. We've seen Tilson's having an issue, done a 1:25. Robert Northway has had an issue right now.
That's a huge issue indeed. In fact, he drops back out of P2 into P4 with that slide there. So Moss claiming another victim once again here as we check out the replay with Northway all by himself. And gets the first apex nicely, but just too much speed, and gets the tiniest bit of his left rear in the dirt through the corner. Able to hang on to it, but that will have done a bit of superheating to his tyres as well. They'll be hurting a bit as we watch it from onboard here in the 46 machine. You can see trying to turn it in, and got the grass. Although, dirt patch.
Good recovery.
Indeed, it was a good recovery, but yes, slides from second to fourth. And now going to have his work cut out.
Remember how many laps we said the tyres were starting to really not behave? At lap 24, 25. We're not far off that.
We aren't indeed. So I'd suggest the tyres are falling off earlier than that even at this rate based on what we're seeing out on the road. But it's going to be a matter of how long do you go. As back on board with this fight for P2 in the sportsman category. Yuki's looking really nice once again inside 0.4 of a second as we make our way down the Mario Andretti straightaway. Good slipstream in these trucks here tonight as well, it seems. We'll get up to the end of the straightaway. Not close enough, though, is Mookie to make any moves just yet. So he will continue to follow the line, but he's doing a nice job there through turn 8 at least to try and hook to the inside, but half showing a nose through turn 9, not able to make something of it through there just yet.
Was that him showing a nose, or was that him thinking and taunting that maybe it's time to pit?
Yeah,
that could have been a taunt saying, hey, I'm going to do something that you're not expecting. And, you know, it wasn't oh, yeah, I'm going to pit. But just making Jake Fox think, well, what's he doing behind me? Is he pitting? What's the strategy going? And then that could start the chain reaction within that entire team, that entire organisation. The pit stops may not be that far away. And there we go. Right on cue, Julian Mookie threw on Jake Fox. I think that's a distraction play.
Yeah, that might just be. Mookie's looking quite comfortable there in his car at the moment, lapping in the 1:23s at this stage. He isn't certainly setting the lap charts on fire when you're considering both classes of car, but, well, his current lap time's pretty solid. You know who the first taker is for a pit stop? Somewhat on sequence, going to be the 52 of Sam Harper coming into the lane from P8 outright, and also therefore 8th in the pro category. So there you go, end of lap number 20 for him. He decides that's enough. Going to go a little bit early, I think, on this stop. Get that a lap undercut at least, and make hay while the sun shines on a fresh set of rubber out of the pits.
I'm surprised that he's been the one to come in early. I mean, we hadn't seen him sliding around too much. Hadn't seen him do too much. You see him just jump up there on the right-hand side and back down he goes. So this is taking a little bit of damage there too, I think. Yes, still kept his spare truck, so... We did see that early pit stop too from Stuart Elder. I can confirm that he did come in early to use the spare truck after that hit in the wall early on. So that's why we did see him in early. But yeah, Harper rejoins behind Julian Mookie. Well, maybe
so
beside.
Behind. Oh boy, try to actually clear Mookie here with the fresh tyres. Get up the road as soon as you can, and thankfully he will. In for Harper's case, he'll get through there. But
Fox will be happy about that.
Had to push that there through turn 2, Clayton Corner. As Mookie really ran that one wide on entry, trying to keep his speed up. As check out here some of our other drivers out in Circuit D Mole, one of our pro class.
Here.
Nope, Mole is not going to do that there. But we'll see here who responds to Sam Harper's pit stop, given that Harper was sitting.
Well, he did it right on the 1/3 bracket, didn't he? So he's breaking it up into even thirds. So 21, 21, 22.
Yeah, not going to get much more even than that here today. That is true indeed.
Oh, it's on for second.
It is indeed. Daniel Stevens currently still holding down that position, but Dwayne Burns looking a fair bit more composed and definitely got some good pace at this stage because the gap is continuing to build. Is Stevens maybe... I mean, if Stevens is going to go for a two-stop strategy, it looks like he really doesn't have the pace to run with the front runners tonight, unfortunately for him, over the course of a stint. So is this maybe what we're seeing here in terms of a one-stop play from Stevens?
Or
rolling the dice.
Will we see him come in now and make an adjustment to the car? He's not quite played something in regards to the car setup 100% perfect for this race. Does he need to make an adjustment in tyre pressure on one side of the truck? Is the front slightly too hyper-pressured or rear hyper-pressured? Does he need to make some other adjustments? There are a few adjustments you can make in these. Is Tilson... That's at the exit of Moss Corner on the straightaway. That's a strange spot.
It's a long way down the straight, indeed. We'll have to try and get a read on what's happened to him there, I think. Indeed, we'll go to the replay now. And so, let's see, it's a long way down out of Moss Corner. So it looks all fine through there. Well, indeed, nice and exit there on the power.
What?
Oh,
that's just weird.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm going to go jump on board with Tilson there. we'll jump on board with him here on the feed. Now, is this some kind of harbour issue? Or is this just Oh,
I
look
reckon
at that.
it's just that the curbs
Yeah, that
just unloaded the truck, I reckon.
Well, that or... Yeah, I couldn't hear if there was a curb involved, but that certainly just looked like to me a case of the truck just sliding out underneath him. He thought he was all clear. Now, that part of the road does have a little bit of bumps in it, so certainly it's not perfectly smooth there.
Could it be his tyres
have
they've gone away that much that now they're really starting to struggle when there's no load, you know, when they're not properly loaded.
I suspect that could be part of the issue there. It's just the tires are struggling now that much for some people that even when you well past the initial acceleration phase, once that power and torque is built up, any kind of disturbance in that initial that acceleration phase at the top of second gear out of that corner might be enough to really unsettle the trucks. So case in point there, I think, for Tilson. Currently in the pits, not opting to use the fast repair, so he's going to spend quite some time in the pits fixing that thing up, and he took a hefty whack to the front end. That's going to be costly. He is now a lap down on your race leaders.
Kingscott just moved out of the way for Sam Harper on his fresh tyres, so I'm surprised how much he lost in regards to time by moving out of the way of Harper. Look how much time Harper's already pulled. Very surprised by that. I wouldn't have thought that the leader of Sportsman would have been so sporting in that aspect. I mean, well done for doing it. Knows that he's in a separate race, but even still, you don't need to give up as much time as he did.
It's a good point to make there. Sort of, if you're going to do, I guess, in case,
He's done it in the right spot.
Fair enough, and I guess also not really challenged at this stage, it seems, for the race leader. We have an issue here for Ryan Mulder, it seems.
Just let his teammate through.
Teammate, slow down. Hinsey, race leader, going through there as well, it seems. So just stepping aside there. And Francis, yeah, as you said, teammate. Next one here. No, he will indeed step aside there on the exit of turn 3. So race leader released to keep on going. And, well, now on lap 25, Hinsey, gap up to 9 seconds. Might he just have enough in his truck here just to keep on going and make it a one-stopper at this stage? Even if he doesn't like how the truck feels, he's in a spot where he realistically doesn't feel any pressure from these guys. As we're checking out here, Sam Harper and Josh Thomas, they've just gone back and forth a couple of times in the past couple of seconds, but Harper, fresh tyres, making an absolute meal out of these places here. Meanwhile, it's on for P2. Dwayne Burns is quite literally on the bumper of Stevens. Bit of traffic there, making things a bit exciting down the straightaway, but Stevens, good run there in the second half of the straight. Burns may be a little conservative in behind. Means that they stay single file.
Just come back to this for a sec, because I just want to show you something here, Dan.
Alrighty.
Lap comparison between Sam Harper on fresh tyres, Hins on 26 lap old tyres. There's nothing between them. They're the two fastest trucks out on track. Nobody else in the field is close to them. So,
Interesting to note there indeed.
yeah, I'm surprised by that.
Okay, we're on lap 26. That explains
Spooky.
why I'm looking at this. Oh, dear me. Just as we're talking about the implications of strategy here in this race, trouble for the man who was sitting third in class, Julian Mookie, around between turns 3 and 4 on the circuit. He's falling back down the order in class as a result. Check out what's happened here on the replay. So just clears Dave Trevethan there.
Done it all himself.
Who's now being lapped by the Sportsman field. And unfortunately for Mookie, entirely self-inflicted. Just trying to get the power down here on the exit of the Beck corner. And, well, now in behind the real bad machines of Ryan Mulder and Simon Francis. And, yeah, now down 7th in class. And lost a good 7-8 seconds in the process. Much near to 10, I'd say. So now got his work cut out for him as we're well and truly past the 1/3 phase, sorry. Your race leader, Thomas Hins, still staying out on track here to start his 27th lap on his current set of tyres. And no sign of a pit trip either for Stevens or Dwayne Burns. So it looks like Sam Harper, the only driver of the pros, and certainly the only driver. Oh, Trevethan just got around at turn 2. That's just slowed up your race leader.
Oh, yeah.
And backed everyone up there for a second. So, yeah, more dramas for your Sportsman Championship leader here. All
He's
by
having
himself.
a shocking night, isn't he?
He really is.
By his standards, this is not a normal night for him. He must be not content with how this has gone at all. He's not comfortable out there. He's just out there trying to get as many points as he can. And he's even struggling to do that. Oh, that's strange. That's unfortunate. And here comes Hins. He's lost about 2.5 seconds based on my timing from that.
Yeah, that was a painful lap. Well, no, painful one there. Trevethan, as you said, Sportsman Championship leader. Really not comfortable tonight in that car. And again, Josh Robertson's not here tonight either. So Julian Mookie was the driver who was realistically best placed to capitalise. He should still move ahead, given that he's a good 4-5 spots up the road from Trevethan in class. But yeah, really not a great night for any of those guys. And looking to the top of the standings, really the closest on points, who's near the front of the field, are Matt Chalker and Jake Fox, and they are about 300 odd points back from Trevethan. They'll make some nice inroads though as a result here tonight, you would think.
Julian Mookie now looking to come back past Ryan Mulder in his recovery. And we're about, 5 laps off where we're going to expect to see the entirety of the field come in. If anyone can go 33 or 34 laps, they're a wizard for being able to save that much fuel, but also means that their tyres will be much better for the latter part of the race, only needing to do a few less laps. But I think Sam Harper's strategy could be the right one now that I'm looking at lap times. I mean, Hin's last lap doesn't really count, but the guys that Harper was lapping or racing with when he was out there on those 20-lap old tyres are doing laps around about 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap slower. That'll be for 10 to 11 laps. To do that twice, because there'll be 2 stints where they need to do those amount of laps. That negates all of the time loss that Harper will have from that additional stop. So I think that Sam Harper might be on the right strategy call now, looking at the actual numbers from everything.
That is a good point to make there. At this stage, it's going to be close, but should get back to P7 or so, given he's currently sitting only about 20 seconds off of the guys who he was racing earlier on. And given pit transit time here is 45 seconds, as there's a car slow on pit exit.
Ryan Mulder there just had a huge moment out of turn 1. This is with Mookie now inside, not quite close enough. No, he's going to get through. Mulder tries to get the power down and just runs a little bit wide. Don't worry, mate. I have done that and made it look a lot worse. He's done a good job saving that and continuing on. The race continues, and you see just behind there, that is our battle for Pro, 2nd and 3rd. Dan Stevens has been holding onto this position for a long time, but that's all it is. You just feel like he's holding on to the position. He doesn't look comfortable, doesn't look content, but maybe that's just all down to him driving a certain manner to make sure these tyres last.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting perhaps, I guess Dwayne Burns not willing to really throw the dice at this point and have done something about 5 or 6 laps ago to really challenge Stevens when it comes to something along the lines of a different strategy here in this phase of the race, as he tries outside of turn 8 for a moment there in the initial braking point, but not able to get there. He will, though, try and open the entry to turn 9, will he? Yep, both trucks going to keep on going. Ryan Mulder in the foreground for a second there, has gone to the pit lane, though. So one of the Sportsman drivers now opting for a slightly early stop. That is going to make the second stint incredibly painful. He has 35 laps to go in this race here. So that's going to be quite the stretch to make his fuel last that second stop. I think, to be honest, that might just be a bit of a miscalculation there from Mulder, given what we've been talking about, the fuel mileage in these trucks.
I think he hasn't been saving.
At least another lap or 2.
Yeah, so he's done 29 laps. 29? Has he only done 28? He's only done 28 laps, so he's been at 100% throttle. So he hasn't done enough saving. We knew that it was going to be 30 odd laps to a full tank. So he's only done 28. That means that he's gone full throttle and hasn't been able to make it last. So the other point is too, he may have had the tyres basically pop on him. He felt like he couldn't drive it anymore.
Points to make there indeed. Just certainly feels like it's a bit of a... It's just the worst possible time to come to a pit stop, because you're just that close
5
to
laps
making
earlier, you could make a 2-stop work. 2 laps later, you're on the 1 stop. And this doesn't look good.
Yes. Let's just see here. No signs of issues for McMillan. In fact, no. Just able to keep it on the road, but just off pace as a result of going in too deep to Quebec corner there, turn 3. And there we go. It's going to be Dan Stevens to the lane first. Dwayne Burns, well, he doesn't want to be stuck behind Stevens. He's going to try and gamble on going an extra lap or 2 here. Try and stretch the fuel and tyres. All that finals to make that final stint a little bit less painful here. They're on lap 31. He leads the trouble though. There we go. Nick McMillan and Jake Fox, I think.
Yep.
Having issues here. So on here with Fox, currently in behind Hinsey, a race leader there in the foreground shot. So issue here for Fox at turn 3. Now, has he
was slow through 2.
Help? Yeah, a little slow. Has he been given some help by McMillan, who... Nope, Fox has actually locked the rear up entirely by himself, and McMillan too close to be able to pull that one up and avoid contact, given how the tyres are. And look at the damage it's done to McMillan's car there in the foreground of the picture. The front end of the number 8 machine is certainly damaged. As more cars coming to the pit lane from the sportsman category, actually holds up Hinsey once more. A bit of traffic there to give him a bit of grief there. It was Matt Chalker in the number 76 machine.
Hinsey's going to get halfway because he's just starting his 32nd lap, so he will make the halfway point. Matt Chalker comes in from the front of the field, the pointy end of the field, I should say.
Yep, second place in sportsman. As Jonathan Bean and Gavin Barber have both come out of the pits, having completed their first stop in the race after 31 laps. Actually, do they only get 30 laps? Because they now
they only did 30. Yep.
Yeah, they're a lap behind Hinsey now in the race. So that's how far this field is spreading out, thanks to no cautions here on the road side of things, meaning that this field will just spread as it will do over the course of this race. But yeah, that now will certainly put some pressure on those middle finger cars to make it work. Alexander Sheridan next onto the lane at the end of his 31st lap now. Sorry, end of his 30th lap, apologies. Keep getting out all kinds of crisscross. No, sorry, 31. He's just done 31 laps. Apparently I'm having words are hard today kind of statements. As you see here, Craig Tilson came through turn 1.
He's got a meatball flag, so he's had an incident somewhere. Oh, he's popped the engine.
The engine's blown on the exit of turn 1. Unexpected there indeed. Was in the pits for a long time taking manual repairs instead of a fast repair after his earlier incident. And yeah, it's just unfortunately downshifted too early, it seems, and set the engine sky high. So, rough day for the 022. He's now at the back of the field as your top 4 in pro class and your second, and well, most of your sportsman guys, they're also in the pits here. And there's the little telltale puff of engine smokers. 32 laps of racing on the board. Thomas Hinds is going to split it straight down the middle, as will Northway, Burns and Kirk, and Mole has joined them in the pits now as well. But Shane Bowen, number 7 machine, is opting to try and get an extra lap.
We found our wizard
out of his car here.
Yep, very good from Bowen to get that extra lap. I mean, it's very difficult to do. I mean, his pace isn't completely horrible. I mean, it's slow in comparison to what they're doing at full tank, full set of tires, but still, he's done a very good job to make it work. Now, as we were saying before too, Sam Harper will rejoin the race in 7th position. Dean Mole's in, and our leader in sportsman is also in King Scott.
So there we go, 32 laps on the board for King Scott. So indeed, also splitting the race right down the middle here at this part of the race. So important to note there. So order now adjusts. See here, D Mole's been in the pits now for 20 seconds.
It's a long start. Oh, he's got a black flag.
Someone's been a naughty boy on pit entry. Unfortunately for the 31 machine, that's going to make his life just that wee bit painful. Bowen down into the pits as well just now, by the way. We'll
listen for the lockup.
We'll listen in. Let's see here.
So at the line, which is here, he was okay. I think he was fine. So I don't know where he's got that black flag, but he served it now. But it has cost him an absolute truckload of time, and I thought he was about to loop it there. Shane Bowen is back out on track, and he'll rejoin in 6th, probably 7th once Sam Harper comes back up to speed. Harper will still have to pit again. But Harper, I think, has gained around about net 10 seconds from that pit stop early on. Maybe 15.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do here, because we expect him to hit the pit lane in about another 10, no more than 10 laps from here, you would think. Try and cut this race into even 20s, there or thereabouts, and go wild in the final part of the race, as it were. Checking in now here with Simon Francis, who's currently running 5th in class. He's currently going to chase down, or pardon me, he is currently sitting on the back of Trevethan. We're on board now with Matt Chalker, who's trying to chase him down here. These guys fighting for that top 5 spot in the sportsman division as they pass by the lonely and painful race that has been for Dave Trevethan. He is still yet to take a pit stop in this race, because he is just completing his 32nd lap now. So unfortunately for him, that just compared to where Hins, as your outright race leader, is halfway through lap 35, unfortunately already 2.5 laps down in this one is Trevethan. He finally sends his truck to the lane to take pit service.
Now, interesting, the new fastest lap of the race just then from Thomas Hins as well, is he's done a 1 minute 20.0.
7, sorry.
I got distracted at the exact same time as you, because that's Robert Northway, who's gone off the circuit at turn 3 as he's been chasing down Dan Stevens once again. They resume their battle, and oh wow, look at the slide through turn 2. He's kept it, and kept the foot in it. But what's happened after this? Oh, has there been contact there?
I think there might have just been some contact, as Ryan Mould there in the 272, unfortunately getting involved in all this. So a little deep through turn 2, and then goes offline and shuts off the inside option for Stevens to make the pass and get by. And
I think Stevens was expecting the inside to be open, or if he was going that way to maintain his pace, and he's checked up on the inside, and it's just caused a horrible incident. But luckily for Northway, who went the wrong way, well, that's too much curb, he didn't make contact, which is a positive. This is not good, though.
Hello. Who is off there? Phil Otto in the 013 machine, unfortunately for him.
Oh, Dean Mole into the fence.
Pardon me, indeed, Dean Mole. Phil Otto's had a separate issue earlier on as well, but that was about a minute ago now, I think it was, for Otto.
No mechanical black flag, thankfully, for the 31 of Dean Mole. He would have absolutely be heartbroken to see one of those if that was the case, but thankfully he does not.
Yep. Coming up here at turn 2.
On the previous lap, I'm guessing. Because we're back live.
It was on lap 34.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear, more trouble for another Avatar machine. Dean Mole jumps it back to the pits after a lengthy
Has he blown it up?
He's had 2 separate issues. Oh, sorry, no, he had his big off big off there at the S's. Found the fence, and then issue there is
Things happen with our broadcast PC at the moment. Apologies for whatever's happened here. We've got no pictures coming through.
Oh dear. Well, that's a bit unfortunate, to say the
It's
least.
a bit awkward.
Righto. Well, we'll take a quick moment here, maybe just hopefully Jay's sorting things out there, and I think maybe yes, indeed, take a quick chance to talk back through a bit more about the support sponsor for this round of the major series, Waterability Foundation here in Australia, and the work that they're doing currently with providing professional and semi-professional athletes as support workers for disability disabled clients, and helping them with events such as, events outdoors such as beach days, bushwalks, golfing, four-wheel driving on the sand dunes, and working hard not only for their clients, but also for some of those athletes who are working with them here.
We'll be back in a second with pictures. I've fixed our glitch.
Excellent.
My PC decided to legitimately dump itself from the server, so we'll have pictures back, but we can do some radio comms for a second. Simon Francis just had a huge slide coming out of turn number 9. Now, talking strategy again for a second, we did see Sam Harper. We know about his strategy, what he's doing. He'll have to come in about 4, 5, 6 laps. That will drop him back down to about 11th again. We'll leave enough tyres left in the truck as there's a big moment for Francis again.
Yeah.
And he's found the tyres at the downhill at turn 2. Will Harper have enough time left to be able to get him back up into 7th position after coming in for this second stop?
Going to be close there, I think, Jay. Certainly could go either way. Stuart Elder, second time onto the pit lane as well on the 115 machine after his early stop due to the damage occurred with his own incident down at Clayton Corner turn 2. Sliding off on lap 1, finding the tyres, just as both of us could see that happen to Francis. Imagine the good old run wide and slide out there for the number 9 machine, as he had that error there. But yeah, I think at times trouble for Jake Fox at the end of the back straightaway. He actually went like space hopper spec in that machine at the end of the straight. That's an issue for Gavin Barber somewhere on track as well. In the 25,
just had an issue at the
Moss corner.
Corner.
Once again, claiming another victim in this race. We can
watch it, Harper. We can watch the Harper incident. Sorry, the Barber incident.
Yeah, okay. So in Barber's case, just a very slow half spin here in the second part of the Moss corner.
Too hot into the first part.
And then the painful slide out there in the second phase. Yeah, Jake Fox's moment. I just want to go. I'm going to watch that one back again because that was quite something. It was right at the end. Second issue for Fox, locking up the rear end under downshift. This time at the end of the Mario Andretti straightaway, and as a result, he hopped over the access road, and the ground there was bumpy enough to send him absolutely flying. The space hopper spec. You're just talking there about Julian Mookie. I can see he's up to P5 in class. He's
had a huge slide down the hill through turn 4, so he'd hold it, but yeah, lost a little bit of ground down that hill. So he will push on. Matt Chalker behind him, but that's turning into a very, very intense battle between Fox and Chalker. And Simon Francis, based on his pace, may be coming back too. Remember, we just saw him in the background there, Chalker had a huge moment. He's hit the wall.
Meanwhile, similarly, issues for Jake Fox.
Again?
He's getting all kinds of harassed, it seems. As oh dear me, Chalker, all kinds of crisscrossed through the last couple of corners there. And look at this here. This is back with live pictures. Jake Fox is trying to get out of the way of Mookie here. No, pardon me, that's Mookie making his way through. Fox is all kinds of out of shape at this point, it seems. And his tyres are only 1 lap older than Mookie's, so trouble here for the 08 machine. A little bit flustered down the front stretch, a little bit annoyed about something that happened there as well. With a lead lap car going through, or pro class car going through, I should say. The sportsman guys are all on the same lap still, just they're all spaced out as well by quite some margin. But yeah, Mookie's looking good at this point in the race. It's just that everyone else around him in sportsman having a bit of a rough time, it would seem.
King's got broken away, but McMillan's done well, but everyone else has sort of had something go wrong. Ryan Mulder, if you saw him right on cue, that's a huge slide from him. Mookie he's had some issues as well. I mean, absolutely ripped up those rear tyres, but Jake Fox, Mac Chalker, Simon Francis. Justin Teets is someone we haven't talked about at all this race. And he's just been content just driving, punching in laps. Hasn't been the quickest driver, but definitely maintaining consistent pace out there. He's doing a very, very nice job, currently P19. But almost everyone in Sportsman's had a moment that we've seen on the broadcast.
That is correct. Quietly, seems to be just quietly lapping out there tonight is Teets. And as a result, up into 8th place in class. So certainly no struggle there, it would seem. Watching Teets here make his way down the hill as, more trouble for Phil Otto. This time, that's looking a little bit more substantial there. So let's see. Oh dear, he's copied Stuart Elder and slapped the tyre bundle and got his nose in it for good measure there. Down at Clayton Corner, turn 2. Let's have a look at it here. Up high, just in hot, running wide, in the dirt, and the only place that truck was going was the tyre bundles once that happened.
Positive is it was the tyre bundle and not the concrete wall that's just a little bit further on, but the downfall is it's still a tyre bundle. So that'll be fairly heavy damage to that truck. Matt Chalker's just had another incident and he's coming into the pits. Looks like he's got damage to the front tyre there.
Yeah, well, see, he just backs it well off. He's going to stay out of the way of everyone here, so doesn't lose it here on pit entry, thankfully. But, yeah, just trying to, I think, back it off. So there we go. Having last pitted not all that long ago, did Chalker. He will come back to the lane to fix things up there and try again, it would seem, as checking out here, Julian Mookie on the back of Ryan Mulder. And yeah, say what you will about Mookie in terms of that mistake for him in that first stint of the race. He just looks to be, comparatively speaking, absolutely tearing up the road. Of course, the only driver, well, I guess it's the two in the lead of Sportsman are a long way up the road. I'm probably not going to feel too pressured by those guys. King Scott could almost come into the pits, take tyres, and he'd only end up probably around Simon Francis' position. That wouldn't be, I mean, it would also require everyone else similarly to try and pit, I think, to make that kind of a gambit worthwhile. Speaking of the driver who is on the gambit, it is Sam Harper. You see here, hasn't pitted since lap 21. And there we go, right on cue pretty much. Going to bring it on here at the end of lap 42 for the 52. Bring it down the lane and do himself a 22 lap final stint here. Try and maximise the tyres that he's going to have underneath him here at the end of this one, as we just see another replay. Ryan Mulder wide at turn 1. And Julian Mookie around the outside and sweep ahead. Mulder a little close to committing and almost running in the back end, but thankfully no contact there as Harper away. 14.7 seconds on the jacks. And it's a nice clean stop for him. That will send him out. He's only lost 2 spots, maybe not even, might have a 3rd spot lost here, but no, he's going to hang on to that ahead of Jonathan Bean. So there's not been a lot of places lost. It's just the track position is though he has a little wobble on pit exit. That's not going to help him get those tyres up to speed without doing them too much drama. And he just hangs on to the lead lap, but not by much.
The other part to that is he's not that far behind Alexander Sheridan. So for now, maybe the next 10 laps, they'll be fairly evenly matched on pace. But those final 10 laps of this race, we expect to see 1.5, maybe even 2-second gains from Sam Harper over Alexander Sheridan. So keep an eye on that. It's not over, this battle, despite the fact that Harper is a fair way back. I expect to see Sam Harper battling with Gavin Barber by the end of this race for P7, back to where he was before that stop. And I would be guessing that Sam Harper will be having a much easier time of it out there, not worrying about fuel saving, not worrying about tyre conservation, and just running his race and enjoying himself out there without stressing about the extra factors. So just seeing here, this is our leader of Sportsman, Lemmy Kingscott. He's just quite content driving down the straight. You see just in the background there is J.M. Thomas the 11th place car in Pro. And King Scott just goes, well, off you go. You can go through. I'll just let you by. He lost himself. He's lost a second and a half from it and doesn't care. It's plenty of time.
Well, thing is, he only lost...
Staying on the replay.
Okay, we're staying on the replay. Oh, dear. More trouble for Phil Otto.
Yeah,
In fact,
he's had another big moment.
You can see the way his name is ticking down the charts here. He's currently in the pit lane. No, he's not, pardon me.
No, I think he's come off at turn 2 again.
Let's have a look here. That's a narrow entry, a lot of speed for the 013, and yeah. Oh dear, Phil Otto.
That's almost a replay. I mean, he didn't hit the same point of the wall, but very, very similar incident.
Yeah, that car certainly now very much the walking wounded. And a lengthy off-track period for him to pick that one back up and get going again. He's still trying, but now really struggling with that truck there.
I'd be thinking he's got a bent steering arm, and that's why he's now struggling a little bit more. And that's why his pace has dropped off. I mean, he's not really going to gain much from... I'll tell you what, how good's the suit? So I jumped on board to see if we could see if his steering is angled, but it still looks fairly straight, doesn't it? So he looks like he's okay at that point.
Yeah, car hanging on, but surely now with a nose-first impact, the engine can be quite sensitive in these trucks, and indeed he'll come down to the lane once more here.
Yeah.
End of his 45th lap, or 44th lap, I should say, sorry.
He had to do that just to get the truck feeling and behaving nicely so he didn't have any more of those incidents. Remember we said that Sam Harper would be there maybe in a few laps. It'd take a few laps for the new tyres versus the old tyre balance to sort of come back in Harper's favour. That's happened a lot quicker than we thought. He'd done it in 2 laps.
Yep, he just did a 121.4 on the previous lap. And the lap before that, well, actually, that was quite literally his first flying lap out of the pits. You can see here, up behind Alexander Sheridan, and he's got Thomas Hinz, your race leader, for company as well. And again, note this, Thomas Hinz is currently out there and lapping a 10th slower. Well, at least last time around, a 10th slower than Sam Harper was, with tyres that are 14 laps old now, Hinzy. He's certainly keeping the pressure on. Unfortunately for Harper, now stuck behind Sheridan. A 22.7 for him. Sheridan's last up at 23.5 as that's deep from Harper. That's the right side tyres in the grass. Can he keep that out of the tyres? He's going to hang on to keep it out of the tyres,
nice.
But puts all of the good work in those past couple of laps half down the bin, and now has to try again, but he's been really pushing it through turn 2. Not just that lap there, several laps in a row I've seen from Harper. Finally pays the price.
Yeah, he's been pushing hard, trying to gain as much time as he can, and sees that, I mean, quite validly, sees that as a point that he can gain bulk time, fresh tyres versus old tyres, but that was a little bit too much he was trying to gain there. I think he may have also been distracted by Hinz behind him. The fact that Thomas Hinz is right on his tail probably made that a little bit harder than he would have liked. So I'm sure that Sam would agree now looking back, would have been better to drop behind Hinz and then wait for Hinz to make the move, because the respect is always given to the race leader in these sort of races. You can see just ahead, Alexander Sheridan has already let Thomas Hinz through. I would have tucked him behind Hinz and then followed him through when he made the move.
Yeah, that would have certainly, Sheridan having his stepping aside for Hinz as the race leader would have surely put him in a spot where he'd be vulnerable, and with a good timing from Harper with his tyres underneath him, would have been able to go through and challenge pretty easily and pretty effectively, I would have thought as well. Looks a fair sight nicer through turn 2 there, but now 125.6, his previous lap on the board. He'll have to try and improve on that quite some bit, as we're going to see here Phil Otto with a nice fresh truck in hand.
He's used his spare.
Well and truly, you don't come back out of the pits after. Well, he actually spent 1 minute and 18 in the pit lane still, despite that. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he got out of his sim, walked away and got a little bit angry at himself and then come back.
Potentially, I guess that makes
I know,
sense.
if I was in his situation, that would have been what I was doing. Remember we saw J.M. Thomas get it through on Jamie Kingscott? Kingscott's closed right back down on him, so they're actually having a battle for position here for P11 in the overall race. So Kingscott doing very, very well. His pace has been brilliant in this race.
Yeah, he's been untouched. His gap to Nick McMillan, who's second in class, currently sitting at around 14 seconds. And then there's nearly 16 seconds from McMillan back to Julian Mookie in P3. So, yeah, it's basically all kinds of gap between those guys there at the top of the sportsman category. And
Thomas White.
Yeah, Kingscott at this point seemingly content just to run here in behind Thomas. And, well, see here on board with Thomas now. 386 machine looking a little bit more, well, pushing a little wider through turn 1. And then look at this downhill into turn 2.
Such a fun corner.
You can see here the different lines. Kingscott opting to really focus on the exit with a very late apex, as it were, versus a more aggressive entry there from a 386 machine. So yeah, he's quite happy to chill there. It's back on once again between Sheridan and Harper, I might add. They're coming down the Mario Andretti straightaway, and it looks like the traction is most certainly with Harper this time. The inside, he looks, the door is open. Sheridan is going to leave a width and make it the full side of the track. There we go. Harper is on through. Next target, 7 seconds up the road to Gavin Barber to get back to P7.
And I think based on the times, we're going to see it in about 5 laps. So don't be surprised if in a couple of moments we go randomly, oh, hang on, that happened quickly. Because 6.5 seconds now, the next time we actually go and focus on it, look at it, it'll be down to nothing again. So very, very good from Harper in regards to making this strategy work at this stage. Just noticed there on the timing, a bit live timing in regards to the pace that someone's got out on track. This lap, Dan Stevens is off pace for some reason. I'm not sure what's happened, but this lap should be around a second slower than a normal lap, and it is. Just lapped about 1.2 seconds slower than Thomas Hinds in the race lead, but importantly 1.1 seconds slower than Robert Northway behind. So Dan Stevens is struggling a little at the moment. I'm noticing he's actually off the pace again on this lap already. So that gap between Stevens and Northway is closing rather rapidly. At the start of the lap, 2.8 seconds between them. It is now under 2 seconds.
Yeah, interesting you note that.
It was about the same point of the last stint that Stevens struggled a little bit too, wasn't it? Around that 19, 20 laps, he started to lose a bit of ground and then gained it back again.
Yeah, maybe these guys struggling a bit with their drive. I'm just going to jump on board with Stevens personally here for a bit. He's upshifting incredibly early. Now, actually, remember, Stevens came into the pits on lap 30.
Yeah, so he's got to save a little bit more fuel.
He's clutching all the way up the hill here.
Watch this.
Oh,
We're on board here with Northway. Watch the wheel work through Moss. Little flick one way to get it turned in, flick it back the other way to straighten it up. Watch the exit. Beautiful slide. Well controlled.
Yep. So I'll tell you, the answer. Dan Stevens being 2 laps short in the opening stint of the race, he does not have the fuel to finish this one like the others.
Yep.
He is having to limp it home at this point. So
it's a lot of limping to do too.
It is. He'll have to say goodbye to P3. A 1 minute 25 on that last lap. His third sector, and second sector in particular. And there we go. Northway nose ahead around the outside of turn 3. Stevens will put up a token bit of resistance, it seems, as they come out of the corner there. And they go, jumps on the clutch. He's just going to roll it down the hill.
Yeah. That's frustrating for him. But, yeah, the risk you take running that one-stop strategy, knowing that you've got a fuel save, but running a little bit too aggressive on the fuel in that first stint. So, and look, Gavin Barber's already decided there's no point me trying to make it home. I'm just going to come in and pit and take another set of tyres. Sam Harper gets that spot for free. Doesn't even have to work for it.
He does.
There's going to be others that are going to have to do this too.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it here. Stevens, Jonathan Bean as well, the other middle finger car.
Ryan Mulder.
Ryan Mulder, absolutely.
Nick McMillan's Nick McMillan will be okay.
Maybe, the 31 lap guys might have to do a bit of extra work. But yeah. Yeah, that is true. And Craig Tilson is currently circulating and, just another stop as well. In the back of the field in the 022 machine. So, Oh, and Stuart Elder will still owe us another stop.
Yep.
Matt Chalker owes us a stop. Actually, all these,
Oh, no,
these ones-
Elder will be okay because remember he pitted lap 9 and then pitted again only 13 laps ago, so he's okay. And Chalker pitted 9 laps ago. Otto pitted 5 laps ago, so those guys are fine. The main ones are going to be Stevens, Jonathan Ben, and Nick McMillan, and right on cue, Ryan Mulder is in the pits.
Yeah, Jake
McMillan
Fox,
might be okay.
Yeah, I think McMillan might be okay. He just do a bit of aggressive saving. Likewise for Jake Fox and Simon France. They all came in at the end of lap 31 for them. So that's their thing there. Is they'll have to just do
the other part to that is they are a lap down, so they will only have to do 63 laps in the race. So that could be the positive in their favour too.
That is a good point to make there. Indeed. That will certainly...
Maybe that was the sneaky reason why some of the guys were like, yeah, let's be aggressive in our... let's be aggressive in starting, back like a multi-class race. Means that they knew that they would be easier to get lapped and they only had to do one less lap.
Okay, so Stevens is committed to fuel saving it to the end here, by the way. He's just he is, oh my word, the speed. He's still clutching it all the way through the S's.
Let's look at the
As
gap.
you see here,
lap.
you're not wrong. Hayden Kerr currently lapping in the 123s. Stevens is still in the high 24s, mid 25s. Watch out for Hayden Kirk to come and steal P5 off the number 3 machine.
Down the front straight was a 1.2 second advantage to Hayden Kirk. Just down that little short straight. Incredible how much time he's losing here, Dan Stevens.
I think Stevens is willing to throw it all away now to have half a chance of racing normally. As all trouble there for Simon Francis in the number 9 machine. Excursion at turn 9. Gets back on the road though. See here how he goes. So look at it here on the replay, and just a little too aggressive and actually just wanders off the circuit and does a nice tank slap into the tyre bundles down there at that 9th corner. Picks up the skid mark along the right side there.
He already had a bit of a slide going, and I don't think he could get it back. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
still
look
already
at that.
sliding, yeah.
Yeah, it looks a little odd from the outboard shots. That onboard there makes it a little bit more
Yeah,
clear.
you can see that the angle of the truck was going in that direction. So remember when before we went to that replay, what was the gap? It was 11.3 or thereabouts?
Mm-hmm. It's down to 10. Actually, no,
Down to
sorry.
8.
Down to 8. You know, my timing's having a hernia at all this because...
Yeah, mine's not liking Dan Stevens being so far off the pace. 3 seconds off the pace it's saying this lap.
Yeah, he is... Maximise, fuel burn. 1 minute 28 from Dan Stevens on this last
5 seconds off the pace.
Holy smokes, he is... Well, he's committed.
I'm wondering if he's
work.
wondering if he's just thinking, let's give up as much time as I can now to Hayden Kirk, and then hopefully I've saved enough fuel that I can continue to push. 5.1 seconds lost on that last lap.
Yeah, it's all good and well losing. Yeah, like lose the time now while you can. Because if you lose all the time now, you build up the fuel bank, and then he gets within 2 seconds, then you can get back up to speed, and then you can actually race him. In fact, on this lap now, he's actually using the throttle again. So maybe now, Stevens has just found what he needs to do.
Gavin Barber just got past Jonathan Ben, who's also on the fuel save, but nowhere near as aggressive as Dan Stevens.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep tracking Stevens for another lap here. Just see. Nope, Stevens is clutching halfway down the Mario Andretti straight away. So he's still very worried about fuel, but he's not doing it in as many places now, it would seem. In fact, he actually gets back on the throttle this time to roll it through the S's with a bit of momentum. And so just checking in here with our sportsman class leader. And King Scott's still 15 seconds ahead of Nick McMillan and still riding on that rear bumper of JM Thomas, who's currently at the back of the lead group of pro class drivers. The 11th and 12th outright on the road is... Oh, that's very wide there from King Scott, just trying to stay out of the way of Matt Chalker, who's getting himself a lap back on his fellow class member.
Yep, Chalker now back in P8 in class, so it's dropped a long way back out of the lead group. Unfortunate that he has had to do that double pit stop strategy, but the positive... Oh, sorry, Matt Chalker. Yeah, he did have to come in for a second stop, did he not? Yes. He came in doing the same strategy as Sam Harper in the end.
Yes,
My
that was
brain has been
damaged.
completely fried from what is going on in this race. Now, interesting too, I've just noticed too that Sam Harper has lost a lap finally, Thomas Hinds.
Yeah, well, actually, don't forget, he has been, he did lose that lap back when he
Oh, yes,
made
when he
the
went off in
mistake down
turn
here
two.
at turn 2.
Yep.
Yeah, so it has been a couple of laps now since that happened. Here's the other driver who, after a small mistake, has been well and truly committed to a two-stop strategy. Seeing there, Simon Elder on the Stuart Elder, pardon me, on the screen for a moment here, and looks like there might have been some kind
Straight
of
ahead here.
moments here. Oh yes, indeed. Locks up the brakes on the way into the S's. Takes to the runoff.
That's impressive to not end up way out where that fence is. He's done very, very well. Usually you will end up way off the circuit there, but he's done a good job to pull it up, not make contact with the wall, and be able to push on without too much of an issue.
Indeed. So, yeah, Stevens is picking up the pace again, meanwhile, for P4. And you might want to bring up that lap comparison chart for everyone at home. Because, look there. At
He's
lap
pulled a second
55.
back.
You can see here, finally able to flip the switch and get back up to speed whilst preserving the tyres somewhat. Hayden Kirk having a bit of a moment on that previous lap, whilst the feel was all good for him. I think some traffic giving him some grief means that Stevens gets a second back for his troubles.
Kurt, we believe, should be okay in regards to fuel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Kirk came down on lap
He was on the
32.
last, was he? He was on 32 with Hinds and Burns, and then Bowen was the one that went the extra lap, was it not?
Indeed.
Yeah. Now, Julian Mookie as well, he was one that went very, very long as well. He's doing a very, very good job. His pace is still really good. He's closing ground on Nick McMillan ahead, but I don't think it's enough with how many laps left, but still gaining 8-9 tenths of a second every lap. He's got 12 seconds to gain. If McMillan, for some reason, is a little short on fuel, he was one that we were thinking he should be okay, but he's right on that borderline. As Jake Fox has spun out of the final quarter, but McMillan, I think because he's gone a lap down, should be okay.
Yeah, and even in lap 31 in the race, when he came into the pits, yeah, only one lap shy of the halfway point, as it were. We'll still only have to do 32 laps. And just see here for Fox. Actually, oh no, there it is, really late at the final turn and finds the fence, the pit wall, for his troubles there in the 08 machine. Definitely a rough day, but still running P4 in class there.
He has been in the wars, has he not?
He has indeed. He's got 8 seconds, though, back to Simon Francis, so it's not all doom and gloom for him. Should be good to hang on to that fourth place in class. You can actually see the race leader, Thomas Hinds, in between him and Francis, although you can see that Francis is just in behind all the time being. And, well, coming to 6 to go. Been a pretty comfortable race.
Remember,
Hinds now since getting to the lead.
Wasn't all that long ago. Well, it felt like it wasn't all that long ago. We were wondering whether Hinds had enough to be able to get in the lead of the race. Remember, he was applying pressure to Stevens, maintained second when Northway went through, and then all of a sudden, once he got past Northway, he's just absolutely stormed away. It's like he found a different gear, different setup or something. He just absolutely has stormed away from the rest of the field. So Hinds has been very, very good in this race. But I think it took him a little bit longer to get comfortable in the car, as he may have liked himself.
Yeah, that would be sort of, I generally agree with that statement there. Willing to play the long game and be very conservative off the start. Yeah, let everyone else go to blows and ease the car into it in that second phase of the stint. And then, yeah, go a little bit harder at the opening of the second stint, because at that point he was well clear as we checking in again with your sportsman class leader, and still happily circulating pretty much right on the bumper of Thomas, the last of the lead lap guys in pro. But Robert Northway comes on through there in the 46 machine to basically say, step aside please, I would like to get back to P2, but unfortunately for Northway he's 14 seconds behind. Pardon me, no, sorry, he's Am I counting that right? No, I think
Yeah.
I'm counting that right. He's 17 clear.
17 behind and 14 clear of Stevens.
Yeah. Words are hard today, or numbers. Or something like that.
Maths is hard.
Yeah. All sorts of...
All I'll say is I'm glad Bragging Rights doesn't have pit stops because there's no way I'd work out fuel numbers. My brain would not be able to handle pit stops and working out fuel numbers.
Is there like an at 2 a.m. clause to apply to that one as well?
Well, look, yeah, 2 a.m. on a Sunday when you haven't raced in 4 years, I think I'm allowed to not have to worry about pit stops. I'm just hoping I can finish every race. That's all my only aim is. If you're not sure what we're talking about, proud broadcasters of the majors ourselves and GSRC will be competing amongst the other big major broadcasters within iRacing and iRacing staff themselves in Bragging Rights number 2. Of course, we as the reigning champions of Bragging Rights are very, very excited to go and maintain our title. Cameron Dance, former champion of this series, will be racing alongside us. Ryan Jones, former commentator of this series, will be racing alongside us. And Bo Albert, former World Championship driver in the rallycross side of things, will also be driving with SimSpeed. And I'll be ragging it around in last place. And if you are still awake at 2 a.m. Australian Eastern Time, we'll be on the YouTubes. Check out our socials and we'll share them around later on.
Yeah. I'll try and be awake for it, but...
Look, I can't guarantee that it's worth being awake to it. Actually, watching me crash is probably worth watching.
See, exactly. All the more power for me to have the memories banked.
I'm just going to take out GSRC boys. That's my only aim.
Well, you heard it here first then, live on a...
Hello, Joe.
Yeah, well, there we go. Intentions clear. Warning shots fired.
I've already sent him that message, don't worry.
Yeah, only getting in 6 hours ahead of schedule then. Good to know. Okay, actually a bit more than 6 hours. But I guess we'll keep you posted as Northway continues on through the traffic here. Passing by Jonathan Bean there, who actually has got Josh Thomas behind as well. So Thomas now has... Yeah, Thomas now has Bean for position. And he's still got King Scott just happily stalking the pair of them now. As they circulate around, lap after lap after lap. And in fact, there you go. How's that? Solid half oopsie from Thomas on the exit of turn 1. Slightly compromised the line into turn 2. But again, King Scott just going to stay there on his bumper and just be like, I'm here. Don't worry about me. Keep on racing. Why don't you?
And this is just the nature of making sure that you've got enough fuel to get home to the end. Remember, Jonathan Ben coming in on lap 30. The bonus he's got is they have gone a lap down, so he's only going to do 33 out of 33 of the 63 laps that he'll have to do in the race. One of them's been taken away by Hins going through. So that's a plus for him in regards to this fuel save strategy. And from this point on, he'd probably be wanting to go, I've done my fuel saving, I can push on all the way to the end. Interesting too, another battle that I've just noticed on the timing sheets too. Just going to cut away from this for a moment because have a look at Shane Bowen, how quickly he's caught up to Hayden Kirk. I think Hayden Kirk is one that's now starting to worry a little about fuel.
It's a bit interesting because he
Stevens is worried again too.
Yeah, he is. They've both dipped into the 1 minute 24s in the past.
Stevens only got up to 178 kilometres down the straight. Everyone else is doing at least 240, 250 box around.
Yeah, trouble there for Jake Fox. It allows Simon Francis through into 4th and Sportsman. Yeah,
who's going to make it home? That's the real question now. We don't know who's actually got the fuel in the tank to make it all the way to the end.
This is interesting to see indeed. So we thought Hayden Kirk, would be able to pressure Dan Stevens. And he does gain nearly 3 seconds on that last lap, I should add. But yeah, Shane Bowen is now on his bumper and would like to get through at his earliest convenience. As, they're having all kinds of troubles. Meanwhile, little off-track excursion for J.M. Thomas. And King Scott heads on through to at least keep his momentum up at this point. Let's see.
Just went straight ahead.
Yes, quite unexpected error there. All considered. Check it out here. So just down the hill was super wide. And there you go. That's wide. He went straight ahead. that car was not pulling up anytime soon.
He did a good job to actually pull it up before they got to the fence, but not the way he would have liked to have done that. He's lost a position on the track. No position in class, which is a positive. Shane Bowen trying to get through.
There's alongside now. Hayden Kirk will cover the inside through turn 8, but can Bowen hang it around the long way to turn 9? He's going to have the inside now for the penultimate turn. And Kirk does not have the front end grip. He loses the challenge and will have to settle for P6 for now. But Dan Stevens is losing bulk time to these guys, and 5.5 seconds in 2 laps. You wouldn't think it's possible, but if Bowen can put in 2 fast laps here while Stevens is worried about the fuel, I wouldn't rule this out.
No, I wouldn't either. I think he's going to be right there at the end of the lap. And the white flag now flies at the front of the field for Thomas Hinds. Gap between Bowen and Stevens, 5.2. Remember that when we come back to it in a moment, but Thomas Hinds has led all but, 11 laps of this race. As soon as he got in the lead, he has not looked back. He's done a brilliant job. Made it to the critical number to only do this one stop and do the one stop comfortably. He's driven brilliantly.
He has indeed, and well, it's sort of been a case of not really worrying about what he's been up to, it seems, because, yeah, just quietly lapping out front since he got there, and the pressure seemed to drop away. He will potentially grab Phil Otto here at the end of this race. He will indeed. Otto's going to step aside down the straightaway here. So only 3 corners to go for Thomas Hinds to wrap things up here for the Silverado 250. And trust it's going to be a Ford F-150. And that does the goods here tonight, it seems, given the name of the event. But rounds the S's up into White's corner for the final time here tonight. And Thomas Hinds finally lets it loose through the last couple of corners. He wins the Silverado 250 here for the Majors Series International Division. Meanwhile, here's your race leader in AM. He's up into P10 outright now. Here's Jamie Kingscott, and he's got just under half a lap to go. Meanwhile, check in with Dan Stevens and Shane Bowen. Gap down to 2.5, 2.6, but Bowen's going to have to put in an absolute lightning final sectors here to get in that position. Maybe Stevens has just saved enough here to be able to hang on towards the end of this one. We'll see how we go as Kingscott rounding through the S's, looking nice and neat, and has not been pressured all race long here for the Sportsman win. He makes it a P10 outright for good measure in the 472. There is your second winner of the night here for the Silverado 250 in the international region.
1.5 with only 2 corners to go. Stevens, he could cough.
I think he's got it. Even if he coughs, I think he's just got it. The line's not that far around the final turn, and indeed, he puts the foot down and he bangs it off the limiter in second gear. He will hang on to 4th place in this race.
And there's no fuel left.
Shane Bowen will have to settle for P5.
What a fun race that was.
Wraps this one up, and yeah, plenty of racing action there on the road. A lot of strategy to have to worry about that one there tonight. And, well, a case of what could have been for a couple of drivers. But let's walk through those results for you here as they were across the line. And, yeah, Thomas Hinds walking away to a 24.9 second win in the end of it. Dwayne Burns, the second man across the line in the number 19 truck there. And then Robert Northway having to settle for P3 tonight. They're a fair ways back himself. And how about that? Ford, Chevy, and Toyota all lined up on the podium. Equal representation for all, it would seem, tonight. Then the rest of your top 10 as follows. Dan Stevens there, able to hang on for P4, ahead of Shane Bowen in P5. Hayden Kirk, unfortunately, a little bit of troubles for him in P6 at the end of that one. Has to slip on back there. Then the first cars a lap down. Include the 52 of Sam Harper with that 2-stop strategy. A little bit off axis compared to everyone else, but certainly ended up being not negative compared to where he was when he made the stop initially. Alexander Sheridan just behind him in P8. Evan Barber in P9, and then your Sportsman division winner, Jamie Kingscott, rounding out your top 10 here for this one this evening.
From there, the last of our runners that finished the race in Pro being Jonathan Bent and Josh Thomas. They'll both be a little bit disappointed with how far back they were in the end, but did finish the race, which is a positive to come out of it. Second place in Sportsman, though, goes to Nick McMillan. Julian Mookie, one of the drives of the day, I think, because he was up and down like a yo-yo, but still managed to hold on for P3 in class. But Simon Francis, Jake Fox, Ryan Mulder, Chaston Teets, and Matt Chalker with Stuart Alder rounding out the top 20 outright, 9th in class. From there, we go back to Phil Otto and Dave Trevethan, who finished 10th and 11th in class. And the last driver to finish the race, he did finish in the end, which is great to see, is Craig Tilson. Dean Moll, unfortunately, did not finish with his issues, potentially a few tech issues in the end that meant that his race did not finish as planned. Time for some driver interviews. I'll let you take them away, Dan.
We will indeed. And we're going to start, of course, with the man who came home in front of the field tonight, Thomas Hinz of the 53 machine. Well, Hinzy, after starting there on the front row, looked like you were pretty comfy with P2 for a while there, but things got a little bit feisty there between Northway and Stevens. You were able to pick up the pieces after a couple of laps there.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Yeah, it was really good fun. We had a nice battle there at the start. Obviously, we're all the good thing with racing. All the guys we have in the national every round, you always know. We all sort of know how we all race, so it's able to be really clean and hard fought. So just sort of picked my moment. I was hoping I had sort of race pace. Seeing as I actually managed to somehow qualify nearly pole, which is surprising, but so I figured I was sort of hoping the race pace was pretty strong, and just sitting behind Dan and obviously Robert looked like they were sort of on the edge, and I was just trying to sort of sit behind them and pick my moment. And then obviously got through, and then from there it was just managing the tyres really, and just a little bit of fuel saving to get to the critical lap to make it. Really not too bad. The only thing was a minor scare with one of the lap cars spinning in front of me, and that was a bit of a moment, but I managed to dodge that.
You did. We did catch that one, thanks to the drama out there tonight. But certainly. How much were you having to sort of back off the car, I guess, just to put it in perspective for our viewers there tonight? Obviously, both with the fuel and the tyres with the way that they were in play tonight.
Yeah, I was actually just saying there to Dwayne and Robert just in the waiting room there. Obviously, I've done a lot of supercars over the years, and that definitely helps because they're a similar kind of ilk. But if anything, I would imagine I'd actually know the figures, but I assume there'd be a little more power and even less grip. And even more of a tank, and obviously way more. So it's kind of like the supercar, but even more slippery. But supercar definitely helps with that because a lot of weighting and just very, very fine inputs with everything. It's very, with pedals, wheel, it's all very, almost slow, and just you can't really bash it. If you be too brutal with it, it just kills the tires, and then you've got no pace. So you just got you're very much nursing it. That's what I found. You're just kind of guiding it around the track, very, very conservatively. I found is the way to get the race pace. And it was interesting. The only place I was really fuel saving was down the end of the main straight. There I was lifting at the end of the main straight, the back straight, and that seemed to be doing the job, which is good. It was interesting. I was noticing at the right hand sweeper. I always forget the corner names, but turn 4, whatever it is. That one I was actually saying third, which is interesting. I thought initially I went down to second. Obviously it's 4-speed gearbox being old style NASCAR, and I thought second was the way initially, and I kept finding it was just heel spinning really painful. So I just thought in practice, I'll just stay in third, see what happens. And it was great. So I was pretty happy I found that, because it looked like most of the others were going down to second. I could tell they were struggling on the exit. So that was a nice little thing I just kind of found in practice that helped, I think, in keeping the tyres alive there.
Indeed. Well, unfortunately, I'm not super familiar with the point scheme for the Majors Championship, but coming into tonight, you were about 44 behind Sam Harper. There's a good chance you're into P2 after that one tonight. And then looking ahead, only 3 rounds to go for this year's Majors Series. And next up is 200 laps in Martinsville in the Chevrolet Monte Carlo late model machine for the Virginia 300 in September. I guess, any thoughts on that one? Because it's a pretty oval-heavy calendar to wrap things up here this year for the Majors Series.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've literally never driven the car, so going to be another case of jumping in and sort of finding out. So it should be good fun. I usually do enjoy my short track oval stuff when I do get the rare chance I get to race it. So should be fun. Definitely will be good, close, hard fought stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty keen for that, and yeah, really just trying to. Hopefully, I'm trying to, well, top 3 is what I'm hoping for. I think Rob's a bit too far ahead to be able to catch unless he has a major error, which we never know. But yeah, I think P2 is what I'm hoping. I can nip Sam at the end. But yeah, this is obviously big help this in the championship.
Well, before we let you go, Hinsey, who do you want to thank tonight for the result?
I'll make sure I remember again. Jinx Shifters, it's only splattered all over the car. Thanks to them for the sponsorship and everything, and all the other sponsors in the team and on the cars, etc. Big thanks for their support. Big thanks to Henry for putting together the livery. He's got to keep doing these liveries for these one-offs for majors. So big kudos to Henry for putting the paints together for these sort of one-off races, probably. Yeah, and big thanks to obviously majors for the awesome show as always that they run, and big thanks to you guys for the broadcast as well.
There you are, Thomas Hinz, your race winner outright and in the Pro Division for the Silverado 250 here tonight. Quickly chat with the man who came home in P2. It was Dwayne Burns. Got the job done there in the number 19 machine. While Dwayne, obviously a little bit off, seemed a little bit off the pace at the start of that one there, but the fighting up front brought you into the picture and then able to slip through and sort of end up, well, for us it was a little bit quiet there at the end. A lot of racing further on back, but a good result for you there. Second place across the line tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy with that. I was just taking it a little bit easy at the start because I wasn't too sure how fuel was going to work out with the warm-up lap, so I wasn't pushing too hard, and then it sort of came to me, but it was a real struggle. I was getting held up massively by Dan, but I just couldn't find any way past him, so all fair play to him.
Indeed, yeah, he certainly was putting out the moves tonight to try and hang on to his spots. I guess, obviously, undercuts can be pretty powerful, but he put himself in a rough spot with an early stop. I guess, how were you sort of feeling at that point? Were you sort of really trying to focus on making it to that halfway point to make the fuel numbers a bit easier in the second half of the race, or was there any concerns once that early pit stop was made by the number 3 machine there?
Yeah, I mean, my plan was always to pit halfway. And when he came in 2 laps before, I knew that he might have to stop again. But the undercut was going to be pretty strong here on the cold tyres, so I was sort of ruining that I'd come out behind him again. But something happened, I'm not too sure, and he lost a fair bit of time.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slow stop for him, actually to the tune of about 5 seconds, it would seem, on my timing, which would explain things a bit there. But as a result, did yourself a good job there. Just, unfortunately, Hinsey able to sort of get away up front, but able to clear out from Northway, who obviously were in behind as well in that early phase of the race.
Yeah, Hinsey just had a bit too much speed for all of us tonight. I was pretty happy to beat guys like Northway and Dan. I knew they were going to be fairly strong and around my sort of pace, so pretty happy overall, definitely.
Well, before we let you go, Dwayne, who do you want to thank tonight for the result?
Well, I think I got to say thanks to Shane, because I might have had my fuel numbers a bit messed up before the race, and he sort of alerted me. So I'm a bit lucky there. And but of course, thanks to all the other Kinetic Avatar racing guys, it's always good to race with them. And thanks for you guys for putting on the broadcast as well, and everyone at Majors, in particular Mike and all those guys.
Well, there we are. Dwayne Burns, second place tonight here in the Pro Division for the Silverado 250. And our final driver we're going to have a quick chat to here, number 46 at Robert Northway, brought it home in P3 tonight. Robert, chance there in the early phase to really scrap for the race win, but unfortunately fading there, it would seem, compared to Hinsey as the race went on for you, unfortunately. But still, hopefully you're pretty happy with a P3, all things considered.
Yeah, I am. Missed the setup tonight, so I burnt off the tyres, so I had no chance of keeping up with Hinsey and Dwayne there, so just happy to get a good points result, what you call points day.
Indeed, yeah, coming into tonight leading the Pro Class Championship by nearly 100 points over Sam Harper, so yeah, we'll obviously lose a little bit of that margin, but all things considered, looking pretty good. And with only 3 rounds to go for the major series this year, hopefully feeling fairly comfortable with how things going, as long as you keep bringing in consistent results.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident for the rest of the season. As long as I can make each round, there's a small chance I might miss it with the birth of my second kid. I might miss a round. So if I don't miss a round, I feel pretty confident because I do enjoy the car and track combos coming up.
Indeed. Speaking of the combos coming up, we'll talk about that next one in end of this month. So only 2 weeks away now before we head to the Virginia 300 with 200 laps around Martinsville. A bit of short track action there in the Chevy Monte Carlo late model. Thoughts on how that one might turn out for you there?
In terms of the track and car combo, I've always loved the late model, and I love short track racing. It's always right up my alley. I think the last time the majors ran the late model, I ended up winning there. But there's going to be a bit of a lottery in terms of the chaos that will happen, being a short track, so there's no guarantees.
Indeed, that is a good point to make, but we'll have to wait and see how things go for that one there. Before we let you go, Robert, who do you want to thank tonight for your result?
Of course, all the teammates at Satellite Racing. I was running the KSR livery this week, so the KSR boys as well, and thanks to Speed Nation for coming on board with the KSR teams. And just everyone, all the family and all that, all the usual stuff.
There we go. Third place tonight for Robert Northway, and doing himself a solid job there, championship-wise. And, well, that'll wrap things up for us this evening. And, indeed, the next round of the majors, 2 weeks' time on Saturday the 24th of September, 5:45 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for that one there. 300 kilometres, I'm going to presume, 200 laps of Martinsville Speedway in the Chevy Monte Carlo late model J. Short track racing, one of the most iconic venues in American short track racing history, and a car well suited to it as well. But that certainly means elbows and bumpers will be out from flag to flag if any real world racing release is any good example of what we can expect here on the sim.
Yeah, the most iconic, other than Bristol, of the short tracks in American racing, of course, paperclip, as it is known, much more of a paperclip as opposed to our Australian paperclip than we know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It is a very, very tough track. Elbows will need to be very, very pointy because you will have them out and have them out aggressively. This will make or break someone's championship, I feel. We'll lose a contender based on this race. So looking forward to seeing how it plays out, but it's going to be very, very entertaining, very, very tough, but very, very fun. 2 weeks' time. Of course, AFL Grand Final day as well, so that'll be interesting for a few people. We might see a bit of a mix of drivers just based off that too. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Good point to make there, indeed. Well, at the same time, hopefully scheduling-wise, we shouldn't be too late to the part. Well, we should be late enough that, clash shouldn't be too hard there, all things considered. But that will wrap things up for us here this evening, and, well, for this weekend as well, I believe, on SimSpeed TV. Of course, as we were talking about for a little bit there, bragging rights to Sim Racing Commentary Boogaloo. Well, they came up with some cheesy name, but that's over on Motorsport TV overnight, early Sunday morning at 2 a.m. Make sure to check in with that if you're available and cheer on the SimSpeed team representing us there for that one. But on behalf of Jay and SimSpeed here tonight for the Major Series International region, thank you all very much for watching our coverage of the Silverado 250 with the International region here tonight. Big thanks to the Major Series, and once again also supporting chosen charity of the Whatability Foundation for this round here this weekend, and to their work at Whatability with disability clients and the athletes as their support workers. Big credit to them. Make sure to check out Whatability via their website at whatability.com.au. But my name is Daniel Yeaman. It's been Jay Kennedy alongside me here this evening with production and commentary for you on this one. Hope you enjoyed the show from start to finish. Make sure to check back in with us in 2 weeks for the next round of the Major Series. Until then, stay safe, have a good one, folks, and it's bye for now.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to here. Oh my God!
guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.
God, what?